Do you guys have a story, or what would be a good story that would kind of encompass the entire process from that first dial to the next steps to buying and closing on a deal? What would be a good, do you have a good story for that?
Yeah, we could probably talk about Matchless Plastics. Um, yeah, you were involved in the beginning.
Yeah, so Matchless is a manufacturing company in Plymouth, Minnesota. And when I came on, I knew the vision was to buy operational companies as well as real estate. And I forget how Peyton had a relationship. Was it with the broker? How did
Yeah,
that?
a broker brought it to us.
Okay.
Yeah, a real
Yes.
estate broker, I believe.
Oh, really? Yeah. So
Yeah.
and that's the other thing too. Like Peyton will get business leads from real estate brokers if once people know that we buy businesses too, because and that's the relationship thing. Connections are all over the place, and so somebody might know this person that's selling that business or wants to sell, and anyway, one thing leads to another. But with Matchless, we had negotiations early on. Ultimately, I think we agreed on a price, but then this was, I forget, a couple years ago, 21. I forget exactly,
Yeah, it would
but
have been.
ultimately we didn't get it done. We didn't close on it at that point. I forget exactly why, what happened. I think we just couldn't come to some final terms, and we decided to walk away. And we had some earnest money at risk and decided to walk away. That's just the nature of the business. And then probably 6 months later,
Yeah,
was
probably.
it? We were in a leadership team meeting, and we just said, "Hey, Peyton, you should reach out to the broker again on Matchless just to see what the status is." And re-engaged, and he still wanted to sell. And I think the key for us was even though that we walked away from that, we didn't leave a sour taste in the seller's mouth. He liked us. He liked Peyton. He liked EJ. He liked dealing with me. I had many conversations with his, counsel and and everything like that. And so there was still a good relationship there. And I think that was really the key to holding it together, because when Peyton re-engaged, he was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I like you guys. Let's get it done." And so he was motivated at that time. And then, yeah, one thing led to another. We ended up closing. Um, was it
February of 23.
February of 23? Yeah, and that's and EJ can talk more about kind of the life-changing roadmap that we have in place. But it wasn't without. And this is our first business acquisition. And that's the other thing. Like, we haven't done this before. We'll figure it out as we go. And so there were some bumps in the road, certainly. We knew we wanted a CEO. We knew we wanted to hire a CEO. That was step one, because the current owner was exiting. And he had had the company since the mid 80s. He started it. He was a CEO, very stagnant, not motivated to grow it, which that was his station in life. But we knew he was exiting, and so we wanted to bring in a CEO to kind of lead things. And I had a good friend from college who was in the cities, had worked corporate engineering for 15 years, and he kind of wanted out of the corporate grind. And so approached him about it. He was heavily interested. Stand-up guy. Of course, like I said, I've known him for many years, and so we hired him as the CEO. But then we still had some hurdles, to go through, because we didn't have our process dialed in. We didn't know exactly what to tell him on how to run things. He had some different ideas, and so there was some headbutting going on there. But we knew at the core we had good people. We knew that we had a good CEO there. We knew that we could be flexible with him. And so a couple months ago, we kind of had we brought him to the office because there were some issues, and EJ can talk more about it. But at the end of the meeting here in the office, we were all on the same page, and primarily because we were more dialed in. We were giving clear direction to the new CEO instead of saying, "Hey, yeah, let's do this, try this, try that." It was like, "Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we believe in, and here's how we want to do it." And the other important thing, though, even though the numbers were still good there at Matchless, but it wasn't good, So, and I think that goes to what we talked about earlier, that it's not all about return on investment. It's not all about ROI. It's not all about the numbers, because when you make it just about the numbers, there's certain things you can't fix. But if you get the people right, the numbers take care of themselves generally. And so that's really what we realized there was like, hey, the numbers are great, and that's what we had to express to the CEO. You're doing a great job, but there's something missing. And in order to take it to the next level, we got to get that straightened out. And then that's when we really dialed in and got that roadmap that we call life-changing opportunity roadmap dialed in, gave that to him, and he was fully on board with it, bought in. And time and time again, no matter if it's in real estate or business or whatever, even if you're dealing with high-level people, it always comes down to communication. And because our CEO there is a high-level guy, very smart, very high level, good communicator. We consider ourselves good communicators too, but sometimes that falls off the track. And if you don't communicate clearly and precisely what you mean, radical candor, nature, then things get lost in translation and it just goes south. So we really dialed that in, and I'm very proud of the work we did and just recognizing like, hey, we got to be better. As a team, if we're going to be buying companies and telling high level people what we want, we have to be very clear in our expectations. And our CEO totally bought into it, and he's in the process now of hiring a leadership team himself that we're kind of helping him with. But we really feel once we get that leadership team around him, that place is going to crush it. So yeah, it's we haven't exited yet. We still own it. We don't know the exact exit plan on there, yet. Generally when we buy a company, it's try to get them up to 10 million EBITDA. Or 10 million revenue. 10 million EBITDA would be amazing too. But 10 million revenue, because once you get up to 10 million revenue, you're going to open it up to larger private equity companies that we already have management in place, and the multiples go up. And it's a really fun, cool space. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether we sell it or not, that's just more value we extract from the business. Sure.
I can tell. You guys were talking about it's not just the numbers; it's the people who will then take care of the numbers. And I notice, a mission of your guys is to change the lives within the company and also the companies that you're buying, the real estate deals. Why is that so important to you guys, and why do you focus on that so much?
Yeah, so like our passion is to provide life-changing opportunities for our people, and we just came up with that maybe within the last year, and it's something that we've been able to grasp onto and like give us a bunch of meaning. Like it's not all about the profits, and it's not about us. It's like, what can we do for other people? Like that brings a little more purpose to our lives. Mm-hmm. And so providing life-changing opportunities for our people is a lot of it is just providing a job that people enjoy coming to. Mm-hmm. And I remember a Ford commercial. It said 70% of people hate their commute or hate their job. You might as well enjoy your commute to and from work by a Ford. I'm like, 70% of people hate their job. And so we want to totally change that and give people, just opportunities they won't have anywhere else. And a part of that is just a good job that they love.
Are there any other, I guess I can ask this, but you can think about it for a while if you want. Are there any other, wild or cool success stories that went badly that were like a good learning experience?
Every deal ever.
Any that you would want to share or that would stick out?
I'm always just like, what do you say that's going to get...
Yeah, I know, gotta be careful. I don't know, I guess I can summarize. For me, it's... and we're all kind of the mindset, like you want to trust people because you want to do, business with people we trust. But not everybody's like that. And so you have to come and kind of go into things with eyes, wide open and understand that people will do things that you didn't think they would do purely to benefit themselves. And we've had deals like that, things go south. But there are things you can do to protect yourselves. Like, the attorney, it's like, well, yeah, you should have this. Those things take time, and sometimes we want to move quicker than that. And the best deals are the ones where there's a trust relationship on both sides. And yeah, you dial in some things with the paperwork, but everybody knows that that's just the paperwork. The deal's going to get done, shaking hands, face to face. And so those are the types of deals we like to do. We've had deals that weren't that way and they go south. And so it always goes back to the people. It really does, whether it's in the operational business or the real estate or who you're dealing with. It always does.
Yeah, I've had deals where usually I try to go meet with the sellers just myself individually to try to build a relationship at first, because how we look at it is if we can trust the person, then we can trust the numbers. Anybody can just send you numbers over on a piece of paper, but if they're not a trustworthy person, what good are those numbers? So I've had initial meetings where I go there, and they have a boardroom all set up with a bunch of handouts for a bunch of people, and it's just me, and they kind of expect a team, because I think a lot of private equity companies, they come in, it's just all about the numbers, all about these details, and for us, it's more about the relationship, Trust them first, then we can trust the numbers. So that's usually how we start off, just small, one-on-one meetings, and then we get the team more involved later on as we start to build a relationship. Because to us, every deal is just kind of like a puzzle. There's solutions for everything. It's just figure out the pieces that work for each side. And some are harder to figure out what that is, but that's kind of the fun part for us.
Yeah, I love that.
And on the flip side, dealing with someone that we feel is trustworthy, we've gone off projections and numbers based on, what Peyton's seen a guy write on a whiteboard. He'll write it on a whiteboard, and we're like, all right, that's what we're going with, to continue putting effort and process, going down the process. We probably wouldn't end up closing a business like that, but
but that trust and that
right.
long-term relationship matters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, the other thing, with grit being one of our core values, the other thing, to point out is you never know what's going to happen. And we've had some deals where like, oh, well, that one's done. And Matchless is a good example, like that was done, but we re-engaged. The Mankato deal, and I won't get into all the details of it, but we effectively, when I started full time, we had no debt options. We had a month to close on this $11.5 million deal, and so like my first day, I'm calling lenders in Mankato. I'd never really done that before. I don't know if he knew that, but and the one guy got back to me and said, hey, we're not going to work. The other guy didn't get back to me. I said, oh, crap, we don't know what we're going to do. And then like 2 weeks later, he called me. He's like, hey, Jared, sorry, I've had COVID. I've been out. I love the deal. Here's your terms. And it was the best terms I've ever seen. I'm like, oh, it's 80% financing, a 5% origination fee. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. And that bank...
half point origination fee.
Half. What'd I say?
5%.
Oh, no. Sorry. It wasn't even a half point. It was $5,000. It was $5,000. It was a $5,000. It wasn't it was so minimal. I was like, what in the world? And it was funny too, because before we closed on it, the banker's like, hey guys, my board wants me to meet you guys before we close the deal, because we never met him. It was just all over the phone. And so the day before closing, he drove to Brookings and took me and Peyton out to lunch. And it's like, all right, we're good. And then he went back. And that bank, we've done a ton of business with that bank ever since. And so, that was by the skin of our teeth getting that one closed. And we had one extension built in there, and life events happen, partners pass away and things like that. And it was super, it was kind of wild and crazy, but it's been an amazing deal for us, And so, I remember driving home from work the one afternoon, the attorney on the other side said, they're not going to extend you. This is like, December 27th, and we had to close by the 31st. They're like, it's over. And then he called me that evening and said, hey, so-and-so passed away. One of the partners passed away. It's like, whoa. And he is, an older gentleman, and then the next day we had an extension. So 30 more, they're like, we'll give you 30 more days. And we got her done. But, and it's been an amazing deal, And both sides, because there was some seller carryback on that. The other side is very happy. They're getting their distributions, 100% win-win.
If you guys were to give a piece or two of advice to another or a different aspiring entrepreneur, what would those pieces of advice be?
For me, I'd say that business isn't easy, but it's simple, and most people tend to just overthink it. So you're better off to just keep things simple. I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say focus on the people. If you learn how to communicate and deal with people very well, and get them to trust you and bring benefit, then everything tends to come come together. So focus on the people, you can build something bigger versus just doing something yourself.
And for me, I would say have a healthy relationship with risk and fear, because you can't. I mean, if you have a unhealthy relationship and you view it as the worst thing in the world, you'll never get anything done. But if you view it as the best thing in the world, you're going to get over leveraged and be upside down real quick. So having that healthy relationship with both of those, I think, is critical. Yeah, so it's interesting because everybody has a different risk tolerance. Peyton's risk tolerance is different than mine, is different than EJ's. Peyton's kind of the driver of the ship here, so there are some things where we're like, okay, Peyton, you sure you want to do this? And he's like, yeah. But he takes insight from the collective, right? He's not a rogue guy just going out there, willy-nilly. I mean, he's very detailed in his analysis and gets input from us and the other team members on the appropriate amount of risk to take, and then it's his decision to make that risk or not. So, everybody's different. There are certain things I wouldn't do that Peyton would, and vice versa. And more different people analyze things differently. So it's not a one size fits all. And I think you can change it. I've certainly changed my appetite of risk when I was an attorney. For 12 years, my job was to advise clients. Here's your risk. You may not want to do this, and if you do, this is what this is the risk. This is the worst case scenario. And so my mind was programmed to worst case scenario, be very careful. Over the course of the last 3 years, I've changed some because I can understand, and seeing, what we're doing here, how important it is to take the risk in order to get where you want to go. And it's not a risk. It's not risky. It's calculated, and just developing that healthy relationship. And I think it's important to understand that it can change. It's not, personality isn't permanent. It can change based on the inputs that you give yourself.
Yeah. It's kind of like the 5 people you spend your time around, that's who you become, and that's what your mindset is. So it's surrounding yourself with the right people, and maybe it's reading certain books, that'll push you in a certain direction. But, there's so many things out there that you can read or take in to mold who you're going to become,
A lot of that doesn't cost very much.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
The $50 you won will probably...
Yeah. Plus, I get a free book for that photo. I'm like super excited for that book. Like, I love books. I don't know. I got to look. I got a list on Amazon. I'll look. So.
I think the other thing that has been very, important to any of the success here is just like take action. Don't think on things and don't overthink things. Just take action on it. And if it doesn't go well, what's the worst that happens? You can always fix something, or you just learn from that then. Mm-hmm. So take action and you'll figure it out.
I like that. This building is obviously incredible, and it's located in Lake Norton. I'm sure you guys get that all the time. Why is it so important for you guys, or why did you choose Lake Norton and want to invest so heavily here? What does that mean to you, and why did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, this is hometown, is Lake Norton, but the building to us kind of means like we're a small town mindset or Midwest mindset, but with bigger ideas. That's kind of what the building is, I guess.
That's a very good representation.
Yeah, and I'm not from Lake Norton. I grew up in DeSmit, small town still, but I think it's a good representation of like Peyton mentioned, small town roots, but bigger ideas. And just because it's just because you're in a small town doesn't mean you can't do big things, right? And I think like a lot of people don't see that or don't want to see that, or they're like stuck in their ways. But we don't. Just because we have a big building, we don't do things differently from the standpoint of dealing with people and doing business. I mean, it's still the same small town mindset. It's just different ideas, bigger ideas. That's it.
What are your favorite things about small town USA, South Dakota, specifically?
I'd say one of the fun things for me personally, I grew up in Lake Norton, live in Brookings, now, but I get to come back here every day, and it's just fun seeing people, drive by on the street. I can look out my window. I'm like, oh, hey, there's that guy. Shoot him a text, like, what's up? Or you see a hot dog stand outside, and you see people walking up, and you go say hi to them, or you've got that, I don't know, just that community of people that and are familiar with. It's just kind of fun to, keep those connections.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I mean, similar response. I mean, yeah, born and raised in South Dakota. Spent some time away in Michigan when I was going to law school and things like that. And I mean, it was the thing about being away, because my wife and I moved there. We lived there for 2.5 years. It was a good experience, but we wanted to be back home. I mean, South Dakota is home, and you realize when you live away from that, like, because I feel like a lot of maybe the younger generation in South Dakota thinks like, oh, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of South Dakota. And for some it works, some it works, but my experience in living away was it's not the same. People aren't the same. It's colder. I mean, South Dakota is effectively a large city, I mean, you just know people as familiarity. And for me, also it's raising the family, small town atmosphere, the community involvement, knowing people on the streets. I go back to DeSmit now, I still know a ton of people over there, even though I haven't been there for years, Yeah, you just know people. You get to see, good people on a regular basis. And I think that's, the key now. My kids, do they want to go out and experience something else? I hope they do. And if they want to come back to South Dakota, we'd be happy to have them. Because I think that's the important thing about South Dakota and small town values is you don't necessarily know what you have until you experience something else. And, my experience in Michigan, like I said, it wasn't a bad experience, but it certainly made me miss the values of hometown South Dakota.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to them other than you can be on a gravel road in like 30 seconds from the office.
It's kind of nice. A mile is a minute instead of miles an hour, We want to thank you guys for watching. If you want to get into contact with Black Kanyon, go to blackkanyon.com. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.